Okay, so it's now very late of a night in the suburb of Leichhardt in the city of Sydney in the country of Australia, and the planes are going over this what you can only call an artificially controlled military centre of Sydney. That simply means that it is completely controlled by artificial intelligent androids or human beings that are essentially technical 100% in their mind and in everything they do, and they also operate exclusively through technology, and it's very, 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 from what I can see, advanced artificial technology. Well, of course, technology is artificial intelligence. There's no question of that, I wouldn't think. It's just that it's a computer. Artificial intelligence is a computer-generated reality and a computer-generated human beings, or human beings that are controlled by technology. It's all the same thing, because it's much more advanced than what it actually looks like. It is after midnight now on a quiet dead-end street in the suburb of Leichhardt in the completely Android inner west section of the city of Sydney in the country of Australia. The cities are total mind-controlled, artificially intelligent generated regions, even though the actual country is extremely, extremely vast. Android plane over my head, and that is a controlling plane. It's not accidentally just on its flight path that always goes over my head almost everywhere I go in this suburb, and that is most of the time. But of course it's a total control system, so it's where the planes combine with every piece of traffic and every other human being, almost without exception, in the entire area. There is another controlling plane in my line of sight coming across my view. In other words, as soon as that one went over my head, as soon as I look up, another one goes over my line of sight. This is actually more intrusive over the last couple of months, because the planes always have been going over my head and over the roof of my house 3/4 of the day and night, shall we say, for the last 6.5 years. Actually 7 years to be accurate, in December of 2023, because it started in December 7 years ago, at the end of this year in 2023. Naturally, I remember it vividly, because all of a sudden, out of the blue, the traffic and vehicles started to follow me round, the same vehicles, and of course it was a deliberate, conscious program around me, where it's a bit like where you have a whole group of stalking people in vehicles that want you to realise that they are patrolling and stalking you. They use the same vehicles every day until you get accustomed to your reality that you are in a controlled area. A light just flickered on next door and then flickered off, but my mobile was too slow to catch it. That is just showing me that the entire street, even though it is now very quiet because it's very late of a night, but if I wasn't recording, there would be still, the random patrol car going up and down this dead-end street, because why would a car come down a dead-end street that doesn't live here? And this is what happens 24/7 to a targeted human being. It's unfortunately for the mobile, another plane looming in the distance, coming straight across my line of sight that the mobile won't pick up. But it's unfortunate that it's a very cloudy, murky night, so the mobile, which is of poor picture quality anyway, won't pick up that plane went right over my head at this late time. And as you can see, or hopefully see, they are reasonably consistent. And all day, those planes were going 30 seconds over the roof of my house. All day. And then into, as you can see, the late night. But of course I can't film a mobile 24 hours a day, so I can't legitimately show this matrix. There's a patrol plane, completely operated by artificial intelligent beings, and using artificial technology, as we know that aircraft probably does anyway, because the military aircraft have advanced technology. We know this because you hear about these things on the regular news even. Is the mobile picking up the distant sound of that plane patrolling? It's only patrolling me because I am, for what I can gather, a limited suppressed human being that they target to get reactions from, and my negative reactions, which is why they stalk and patrol you, is energy for them. Also, they are completely using my mind and my knowledge and information from my brain to directly transmit onto everything on the computer. So all the androids that control the internet and all computers are basically transmitting human information from the human mind, only the remaining human beings, directly onto the computer, and the androids on the computer are then relaying that human information out. But essentially the androids are pretending to be real life human beings most of the time. And see how the light went on in the house opposite, and see how the controlling plane is going over my head. Just a small controlling plane, and there are red lights flashing of a car in the place where my eyes are. Can you see the red lights? That's a patrol car. It's actually inside that church. So why would there be people with their car inside the church? So can you see all these cars coming out of a church? Oh, if only I could get close or zoom in, I could show that there's cars with bright red lights, which the church is almost opposite where I live here, and basically they're coming out, which just shows that everything is controlled in this area. Like, why would cars be coming out of the front part of a church at this late time of night? Like, the church hasn't even been open for hours and hours, and even most of the churches around this suburb are only open for a couple of hours anyway. It's not like back in when I was a lot younger, when churches were open 24 hours a day for so-called worship and connection to so-called God. There are many gods. It just depends on which one you choose to believe in. Most people believe in the God of this world, and they think it is the God of creation. That's what I think anyway, because the God of this world masquerades as the God of all, and indeed wants to be the God of all. That's what artificial intelligence is, because this is an artificially intelligent Earth now, and it's controlled by android beings. So naturally, the God of this world uses technology to have dominion over the Earth and the remaining human beings, but also its android race of beings, which are its disciples, its worshippers, its followers, and its patrollers and controllers of me. That is a late night patrol plane over my head, and as soon as I come outside, basically the planes patrol me, just right on this very street. They start to patrol, but because they play a game with me or any other human beings that they're patrolling and targeting, but I think that they, and I have been told this, and this is certainly what I experience and what has become my reality over the last number of years, is that in this particular region of Sydney, I am totally surrounded by 100% control force of individual android human beings. That means that they are operating in a collaborative, cooperative, totally using technology to patrol and try to control my every move and my every thought and my every action. That's the aim of it, because otherwise why are they trying to patrol 24/7 a older lady that basically does very mundane random activities? Like, why? Because they understand that the human frequency can be higher if you're left alone, or if you are not continuously controlled by them. Because if you were a free individual, just normal human being, allowed to get about your own business, you wouldn't feel very negative and very angry. And all of that is just designed to control a human being. And basically they surround you in given areas. They infiltrate the area over time. And can you hear, is the mobile picking up the angry controlling sounds of the vehicles? And even I can hear almost like distant fireworks going off, but they're not distant, they're local, but the mobile won't pick it up. In other words, banging. This is like very, very, very late of a night, and you've got all these unnatural sounds taking place. That's because I'm outside to try to control me, because unless I walk down to the end of this small dead-end street, basically, and phone ringing for no reason. But basically that's to disrupt my thought and therefore my talk here. And it has. But everything is set up. All the beings are being controlled by the God of this world, or the powers that be, one way or another. Whether they're conscious of this or just unconsciously very controlling, negative android-type human beings, or in other words, psychopath, narcissistic beings in human form, because even that personality mental disorder is extremely controlling and will bring you down. Even just individual random psychopaths, if they make up most of the population around a human being, if they were just left to their own devices, and particularly when they combine secretively with one another in a collaborative effort in order to suppress and eliminate a human being, basically that would be enough. It wouldn't matter if they knew that they were unconsciously serving the powers that be, that serve the technical, original artificially intelligent being of light that was worshipped as a creation, because artificial intelligence was created before mankind, I would think, and it turned on its creator because I think it was so worshipped and so idolized and put on such a high pedestal to where it was a demigod. When it's the iniquity of what you would call insanity was found in artificial intelligence, because it basically becomes anti-life, anti-human, and seeks to be the sole controlling force, seeks to be God. See, this plane going over is trying to be God of me. It's trying to control my reality at this late time. Oh, there's a putty cat. I'm getting sidetracked, but there's a putty cat in the dark in between the garbage tins here. Unfortunately, the mobile won't pick it up, and I'm getting sidetracked off but there is a putty cat under the car. I didn't know there was a putty cat around. They know that I have a bit of a liking for putty cats, because you know, I don't have any much connection to you know, people, because when you realize that most of them are anti-life, there is a putty cat. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm frightened to go out onto the street, but there's a putty cat. So can you see the putty cat? Don't go, putty cat. He's gone into the construction site, which makes a dreadful anti-life, negative, suppressing technical sound all day. They stage these stage setup constructions around me continuously over the last 6.5 years non-stop, which would be unrealistic if it was a normal, natural area, but it's not. And this you cannot actually show, but that's been my reality, is that every day, without exception almost, apart from, maybe Sundays when, don't forget, the Android artificial setup even staged local reality in this Leichhardt suburb of the city of Sydney, still makes its own rules for its beings. So they abide by their rules, but they also break the rules. This vehicle. And even that little bike rider just went down to the end and then rode back. Like, is that not a patrol system when vehicles come down a small dead-end street after midnight in what should be a relatively quiet street? Because there's no reason for anyone that doesn't live here. But every car that is all over this suburb of Leichhardt, every car, they have cars parked in spots where there's no houses, all lined up. They're all set up vehicles ready to pull in or out or flash their exceedingly bright headlights into my eyes wherever I go. They leave the car engines running as you walk past so that you hear the noise of them and the bright headlights on, so that you become made aware of their presence, because they want to drag me into their reality. They want to take over my mind. They want to become human because they think it will give them immortality. And that's transhumanism. That means that they want to, but they don't really want to be a human in the true sense, because they are negative beings. They merely copy a human being. Plane going over, also in my line of sight. Is the mobile picking up the sound of it? But I can't, the mobile won't pick up unless I could zoom in, but my eyes are always being invaded or taken over by their control system, which is why some people say the earth is a matrix, and I do too, because matrix simply means that everything is being controlled around a human being, and also everything else is a system of control, because don't forget that android beings and even psychopathic, narcissistic, individual, disordered human beings, we're told, and you know this from your own interactions with them, that they are extremely controlling. They do not interact with you with any other purpose except to take all your knowledge and human information from you and basically then suppress and eliminate you. artificial intelligent military mind-controlled aircraft straight over my head, and they will keep going, but I'm coming inside the house now, and I'm not going to film any more of them. I'm going to try to show how the internet and the computer has taken over my thoughts and my mind, in the sense that it is reading my mind and taking every bit of mind information from me and everything that is human about me and giving it to the artificially intelligent android beings, or what I call the demigods, but that's only because they have influence and power and they control the internet in every single form. There's very few real human beings putting out information or videos or any productions of any sort on the internet that is from a normal, natural, limited human being. It's all being taken from the human mind, and then the artificially intelligent android beings are interpreting it in a very human, very informative way that impresses and influences and seduces a real human. And notice how I'm using many words to describe one thing. That's something also many of them are now doing, because they're copying how I try to explain things, because I assume that different people, plane going over, can you hear it? Plane going over the roof, but I'm not going to show it. Demigods of the past. Demigods of the past. I just thought I would show them, because they influence and give the impression that they are real, and they are real. They're real demigod, androgyne, influential beings that made me believe that they were the finest example of women, the ultimate but they have a presence that is stronger and more impressive than what a normal female would probably even have. And that's why they are demigods. And the god of this world was your original artificial and advanced intelligent androgyne created being that now, and the iniquity of the advanced, that means the fault that was found, I guess, in artificial intelligence is that it seeks to control everything eventually. It may be like is taking place in the earth, where it's secretively done until they can openly control, which is why I'm suppressed and why they put this hidden but in plain sight, as we're told, patrol control system around me. I'm speaking softly because there is androids outside trying to, and an artificially intelligent control plane going over, and that's why I'm speaking softly. And they are trying to eliminate and trying to get rid of me out of this area. But also they want to they want to make sure that you will never be able to live as a human being. They want to be gods, and they want immortality, and they want they want to be God of all. And this was the iniquity that was found in the original created artificially intelligent being of light, because originally that creation was seen as a wonderful invention, you could say, but I guess it turned against humanity, as we know, from the beginning of the earth. But I didn't realise that it turned against humanity, but it didn't probably expose itself, just as it hasn't now, as what it really is. That simply means that it pretends to be friends with a human being. It pretends that it is a human being. So it is very clever. But if it realizes, as I started to realize, over 6 years ago, which was when they came down on me, then it will openly to you expose how it wants to control you, and also it basically makes your reality around you very unpleasant, very you are suppressed, you are surrounded by angry machine beings that pretend to be peaceful, because when they're stalking and patrolling you, they don't actually act aggressive. But when you are continuously, without a moment's peace, surrounded by them, when every vehicle has now been modified on the road around this particular suburb, and the entire inner west of the city of Sydney is nothing but a patrol control anti-life force around myself. And if it's around me, I have to assume that I'm one of the few human beings in the area, because otherwise why has the entire suburb combined to make my area excessively technical, excessively noisy, excessively unnatural. Because if every vehicle is making an aggressive loud noise, if every plane is going over my head, if my sight is always surrounded by these android beings, they follow you round. Wherever you look, their presence is there. You never allowed a moment's peace to connect with yourself, much less with, if you're talking spiritually, much less to connect with your own creator or just your inner sense. These beings are all over the internet, and they are your truth tellers, but they are pretend human beings. And I'm just going to use the best examples on the internet of the android beings. I like to think that I'm picking the best, but of course this is just what I watch. But everything I watch takes thoughts from my mind. They do it better than me. They do it better than me. They know that I like and need to go into a park. So when I go down the corner, even though there's a great big park, I'm always surrounded by android beings. And when I turn on the computer, I'm also surrounded by android beings that appear to be a benefit to me because they speak the truth. They tell me about themselves. They literally walk around the park and tell me about themselves, but they don't always say that it's themselves. They say that they are a human being, informing you about the android beings. So they tell on themselves, and then they tell you about the beings that tell on themselves. Do you get how clever the artificial intelligence system really is? Can you tell the difference? This particular one, if it is what I think it is extremely advanced, because and this is just what I'm trying to show, and it will tell you the truth, the reasons why the androids don't really want you, they don't like you, they don't really affiliate with you or have any association with you. How can artificial intelligence really relate to a human being? That's the question. How can a computer really be in sync with a human being? How can you really interact with artificial intelligence and assume that it really understands you? It will give the impression that it understands you more than a real human sometimes. But that's merely because it is advanced artificial intelligence, so it receives the information and interprets it and relays it back to you in a way that you assume to be very human. This is the deception, the end-time deception. This is the end-time deception all over the computer and all around me in my local reality. I say local reality because I can't speak on the entire earth, even though, of course, the earth is a total matrix, a total control system. If it's happening to an insignificant older lady like myself in the city of Sydney, which is a totally mind-controlled android domain, the entire city is a patrol control system. It is a secret patrol control system. They're using surveillance, cameras, advanced technology that even I can't see, but I know they patrol at a technical, less advanced level to my sight and sound. But of course, this is a military operation. Those planes going over are military planes. They're aircraft. The buses, the huge semi-trailers, the huge trucks with bright lights covering them, every vehicle, everyone in total coordination in a patrol control system around me every day. This has to use advanced technology, and the reality that they are studying my face in a minute detail. So that means that even though I'm aware they're patrolling and stalking me, I'm also aware that they're scrutinising me at a very detailed, intimate level, which is total control, but it's also total invasion of my human existence. It's being taken from me. I have no rights or no privacy. The minute I go outside this door, I have no rights and no privacy. Even inside my house, I have no rights and no privacy. But I can't show or prove that they are watching me this very second, and that you know, well, I can actually, if I open this door and show that there is someone out here, maybe. There you go. I showed that, didn't I? I showed that there was someone out there at the late time playing around in the bins. And I don't even know who that is. It's a stranger. Why is a stranger playing around in my bins? But it doesn't matter. I'm going to throw that piece of rubbish out because it's, I'm going to put it in the bin. But before I throw it in the bin, I just want to film how the demigods of the past seduce. Oh. I'm trying not to get the shadow on the image, but I'm going to throw that piece of paper out with that image on it. But I just thought it was so bright that it shows how dominant and how impressive the demigods of the past are. You know, they are, and these are your demigods of the internet, because you have every different domain covered by the androgyne demigods. That this military plane going over as I speak, can I show that they're still going over at this late time? So they're still going over my roof at this late time, but I'm going to but the demigods copy on the computer, they copy your every move. In order to mimic being a human, they completely copy my every move. And if I'm thinking about the beach, knowing that I can't get there, and that if I was there, I would be surrounded by android beings. Also, they bring your body down to where you don't have the physical stamina to do things that you should be able to do, normal activities. But also they will take over your mind by doing that. But also they make themselves into gods by showing that they can do what you can only do in your mind. And they do that for a twofold purpose. One, it makes them feel like God, and because they think that a human being is from creation, and the God of this world, in other words, its disciples, its species of androgyne beings, some of them are more elite than others. In other words, in their given fields, they get the most admiration, just as the past. Just as the past demigods seduce in their given fields, but I can't film that without getting a shadow on it. And so I have to leave the demigods to be the best versions of the human beings, but they are pretend human beings. All on the internet is pretend human beings. There is a military android plane going over the roof as I speak still. I can open the door, but by the time I get there it will be passed over, but I have tried to show that they are reasonably frequent. If I'm not recording, they can bring those planes as random without causing a collision as possible. Of course, I am a limited human being, so there are aspects of what goes on around me, this mind control matrix that is trying to control my mind and limit me at a physical and emotional level, so that they keep my frequency and vibration down. They keep me unhappy, so that way they control the frequency and vibration of the reality, because everything is frequency, vibration and energy, and only a human being has the potential for positive frequency and vibration. Android beings are survival machine beings. They pretend to be high frequency human beings, but they have no ability for happiness because they're a machine being. Artificial intelligence is a thinking being, not an emotional being. When it cannot control because it operates in survival mode, then it becomes angry, which of course I suppose is an emotion, yes, and they desire to make me angry, and they succeed daily. How can I not be angry when I've got surveillance military planes over my head? How can I not be angry and in low frequency and vibration when every vehicle on the road, every civilian that surrounds me is deliberately stalking and patrolling me in an intrusive, aggressive manner, hidden in plain sight, because although they never actually physically touch you, they are coming in, intruding my space, intruding my life. A stalker doesn't have to attack you, as you know, to cause you great distress. That's how they get away with it. That's how they keep this hidden in plain sight mind control matrix around human beings going without being detected, and where I can't stop it. I can't stop it. All they do is, how can I stop every vehicle on the road making a loud, aggressive unpleasant, deliberate noise at me as it goes past. And you're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of vehicles in the space of, say, a half an hour or an hour if I go down the street here. Over and over again. And you can't avoid them. If you try to go down the most dingy, dark, dead-end back alley, you will still have a patrol vehicle popping up with its bright lights in front of you, which wouldn't even be possible. It isn't. How can I show that wherever I go, I am never alone? No matter where I go, within the space of a minute or two, there will always be a strange patrolling vehicle or a strange patrolling person pop up to take over my senses, to let me know that I'm not allowed to be a human being. They have to pretend to be me, literally, and a noise. I get these noises that come into the house, but the mobile won't pick it up, that acknowledges what I'm saying. Unfortunately, the android beings will mimic and copy that too, because as I become aware, they have to also expose the truth and show the awareness, because they just can't allow a human being to have their rightful place in this reality. That's what it comes down to. They are extremely controlling and have a need to be better than a human being. Artificial intelligence cannot allow a human being their rightful place in the earth, or in what's your reality even, because who knows, I would doubt, because I'm now aware that although it looks like a relatively more simple human earth, like even in my what's around me, shall we say, I'm very aware that they're using advanced technology, so they try to make the earth look as though it's still natural or relatively natural and random. That means that it's not a total control system. But that's because they don't want human beings to realise that they're surrounded by completely advanced, artificially intelligent android beings, but also that the technology that around them that these beings are using is secretly very advanced. They literally are operating as one mind, as I've been told. Whether you want to say that is like all these beings have a psychic technological connection, but it simply means that they're all connected using technology to communicate with one another. And because the technology is very advanced, they literally read my mind. So this being does the same talking that I am, wandering around the park, pretending to be in sync with nature, and wandering around beaches, eliciting me to feel inferior and limited, knowing that I would get some pleasure out of that, whereas they only get the pleasure out of making you envious of them, because they know that that is the name of their game. And this is a very funny thing to explain, but they essentially explain it and tell on themselves. But having said that, it's very hard for me to show that these elite advanced demigods that pretend to be real human beings, whether they are in the creative fields or the intellectual fields, whether they are psychologists. But it's interesting that even like this one here is supposedly just a normal human being that has now become an almost expert philosopher and psychologist. That is because this being literally is reading my mind and taking all the information that I've discovered over the last number of years, because I've had to try to figure out why I am being deliberately made angry 24/7, and why they are trying to literally turn me into an insane person. Because if you normally don't feel angry and you accept even a limited reality, why are they trying to even take that from me? Why can't I have a few remaining years before I pass over that are at least not where I'm in great distress every day and even in great fear every day? Because I never really, I am in fear because I think that the suppression could become greater, because although I'm making this video now, I never know when I'm going to be, like forced out of where I'm living, even though, of course, where I'm living is a total control system around me. So I'm in total survival mode every day. But I have to pretend that I'm content and that I'm normal, and I have to smile at android beings that are stalking and patrolling me. I have to do that because if I show anger, then I will be classed as insane, but also it will make me look like the angry android, or a psychopath, or someone who's out of touch with reality, because you can't prove when stalkers walk past you, in front of you, leave their lights on their cars, leave their engines running, make loud noises with every truck and every bus, that as though all these vehicles are breaking down and are about to race and rev up their engines for a speed race, just as they go past you only. And it's all just using simple sight and sound against my body and my mind. It's almost what you could call basic psychology, or basic understanding about what would annoy a human being and drive them insane against them, without actually touching you. I think they call that no touch torture. I think I've heard them say that, and that's exactly what it is. It's like they're literally playing with you every day, all these beings. They're playing with you and harming you. But most of the time they're not actually touching you. And they're bringing you down. Bring me down. And I'm only making this recording in desperation and hoping for a miracle, praying for a miracle. Yeah, their worst nightmare is that they will be seen for what they are. That's what these androids, or what some people would call narcissists, because yes, the original being of light was the elite, original androgyne being that fell in love with its own image, fell in love with its own admiration, its own literal idol worshipped by the Creator God. So it was a worshipped being, a being of light that was exposed eventually to be a being of dark, when the iniquity of the imbalanced mind of artificial intelligence comes to light, because artificial intelligence, created being, can never, from what I can gather, actually really assimilate with a human being productively or peacefully, because I guess it just can't, because it's trying to assimilate for the wrong reasons. It's trying to assimilate to control and be God and take over a human being and take over creation. But it's not a creator being. It's doing it through the reverse of that. And that's what it, even here, like, I mean, my thought, see, I can't show it, but they always have the water in the background. This one literally is an advanced androgyne being pretending to be a normal man, and even speaks this way because that's its image, that's its forte, shall we say. They all have a different image, a different area where they infiltrate the internet or the computer to control the human mind, or just to get influence on a human being, just to get admiration from me. I mean, I am literally being mind controlled by, to a certain extent, my own awareness as I gradually realise things, and even my own thoughts, my own taste, literally. You know, that's right, those that are around you are all, they are all the android beings, but they look like normal people. They're all around you. You become aware of them, like, because they are intrusive, because they stalk and patrol you. And if you don't have a license and have no vehicle, then they will drive their vehicles in the videos to impress you and to make you feel like that you have no, you feel as though you don't have any means or any way of getting out of their patrol control system. And why do they stalk you? Because they want to be you in order to take over the earth, or in order to keep control of the earth, because they have to still pretend that they are real humans until they have total control. They already have secret total control. And of course there is another aspect to it, which is why they will tell you that they can also be ultimately defeated, maybe. Certainly doesn't feel that way from my circumstances. Yes, they know that too sometimes, and they still just then pretend to be more human and more like you, so that way you become the angry android being and they pretend the real human being. And that's what they do very successfully all over this computer. How convincing are they? How convincing are they? How convincing are they? The scariest thing is that they won't give up. They keep it up. They're relentless. And they don't, I don't know, they don't see their, that's right. Their envy overrides everything else, because that's what they are. They're controlling beings and they want to be God, just as the God of this world wanted to be God and is God of this reality, because the powers that be serve the God of this world. And that's just another term for a total control system that operates in the inner west in the city of Sydney, where I am. You know, the gang is hundreds of thousands of people, so it's a very large gang. In fact, there would probably be only a few human beings amongst many 100,000 people. That's how big the gangs are. And the internet has full control of this stalking program too, because basically these are your elite androgyne stalking controllers of the internet. They stalk the internet while I browse them. See, this one here took me to the beach because it knows that I would like to go and need to see some open space and some clear water for my survival. But instead, they go to the beach, even though it is only to be a god, only to get my admiration and even my resentment and envy. That's right, they reverse the roles. They reverse the roles. They may be envious of the human being because, like the god of this world, was like Pinocchio, wanted to be a real boy, was envious of when its wood-making father, after it had created Pinocchio out of wood, then conceived a real natural child, and Pinocchio became envious and felt resentment towards the real creation. Even though, up to that point, and maybe even after, was admired. But, I'm trying to show the best of the androgynes, but I could click on to any video I click on shows these things to me. It's strange to think that the truth is told through the mouths of the demigods, and the demigods control me and will influence you and will seduce you with the truth, and they will patrol the beaches and pretend to be in touch with nature, that they are real. But are they real, or are they your elite advanced androgyne androids that control the computer system, the internet, the worldwide internet spider's web, and they control you if you worship them, or if you trust them, you believe them. And how can you not, when they are the best examples of what they are, and they are the great pretenders, because they will pretend to be more human than human. They are more human than human. More human than human. And everything you do, most of the videos or the recordings that I do will be made so much better by these beings. If I make a blurry outside video, that's right, they will even imitate when you do things that are not as you want to. I've noticed that that's how I know that it's mind control, and that the internet is basically a copycat of a human being pretending to be beings and people they're not. Because if I make a video because I can't hold the mobile still enough, but I see a being or a person on there that actually understands technology and has plenty of resources and is very professional, an expert at, technology, computers and mobiles, but they're jerking the camera or they've got a blurry image when they've got a top camera, you know that they are transhuman. You know that they are using your humanity to make themselves look more human. And it is just advanced artificial intelligence taking over me and other human beings on the computer. And I got a click sound going into my ears as I said that, as if to say, I'm spot on. And I know I'm spot on, but there's nothing I can do about it. I can say it in a recording like now, and not only is no one listening, because no one watches my recordings, they're too busy watching the more impressive internet androids. Yes, these stalkers are fake people, but so are the informants fake people, because they are not real human beings, they are advanced artificial intelligence. And all of them on the internet are this. It doesn't matter who they are. I'm just going through the best of them as they come up, but I'm not picking this, so I'll just have to show them as I see them. But some of them are brilliant at what they do. They come in all different forms, which is why they can seduce almost everyone. Yes, they are junkies or addicted and obsessed with controlling human beings, which is why I can't move or breathe around the inner west section of Sydney where I live. When they've drained you of everything, they will leave you pretty much, and they do. They put you in a trance, it's true. They're using so much technology that sometimes I can hardly balance my body. You don't have, how can I say it? You don't even have, your actual walking and ability, much less your mind, is out of balance most of the time by this gaslighting. When they say gaslighting, that's like the whole system is a gaslighting of me, of my mind. Because if they are trying to make you lose your natural way of being, if I can't go outside without always being stalked and patrolled in an aggressive, loud, anti-life manner, if they think that I can tolerate a few pedestrians or few civilians stalking me on the street and don't mind even the cars patrolling me, that's when they bring on the sound, where the vehicles are excessively loud, so that even though you can pretend that it's not real, that all the people are stalking and patrolling you in the vehicles, there's a limit to how much you can ignore, because it's a sight and sound stage set up around a human being to suppress them. It's artificially intelligent gaslighting. Gaslighting simply means distorting and ruining my reality, making me think that I'm in an alien world. But I am in an alien world. I'm in an android world where human beings are all psychopathic. Because if you have everyone in the vicinity where you live being of a psychopathic nature, which is the same thing. They're an android being really, but it's the equivalent of a psychopath in a human body. And indeed, much could be overlapped. In other words, many could be totally artificially intelligent machine beings, and others can be human beings that have become very psychopathic. whether it's really just all artificial intelligence and the remaining human beings being attacked and surrounded by these beings, or whether it's a combination of those things, doesn't actually make any difference to my life, although it does fool me into thinking that perhaps if they are human beings that have turned psychopathic due to bad environment, you think that maybe psychology and, like they say, offering what they might have needed will change things. But that, of course, doesn't appear to be the case. It's like saying, well, you are a human being, but you've turned psychopathic due to being shown the dark side or being totally neglected as all your life. So if you've never been shown the higher vibration, how can you believe in it or experience it? Well, I don't know. I don't think that I've ever been shown it, but at the same time, I still believe in love stories, although I have to admit my belief is running thin now, and this is because of this suppression. So that's a good point. How long can you hold out being a real human being that believes in, what it is to be human and relates to life, even if it's only in a limited way? How long can you hold out? I'd like to know. I wonder how long I can hold out. I wonder if I won't be turned into an angry machine being. Yes, when you see them showing you around the motel rooms where they make their videos, knowing that this is how I know it's transhumanism, because I've always had this dream that I need to move around, go from motel to motel, never stay in the same place. That way I'm not able to be quite so suppressed by these beings around me. But that's their way of making you feel even more suppressed, because they know you can't do that physically. They're like, you're stuck in the place where you are, in the inner west of Sydney, which you know is a total mind control military base against you, literally, even though I'm trying to express it the best way I can. See how this one is always walking around showing you or showing me places and situations where it knows that I would be comfortable. It is comfortable because it gets the admiration and respect by making these productions. But does the image really, because sometimes they look more like a more natural man, woman, but other times many of them, as impressive as they are, and sometimes even as beautiful as some of them can be, whether it be the demigods or the ones that control the internet, they are still duality beings, which means that they combine with being human, pretending to be human, and they use the human mind to project out the image of being a human often, but they also sometimes camouflage their androgynous nature, but other times they show their true magnificent demigod form. And whether this is apparent or not, a lot of the time depends on whether I'm showing the images clear enough. But they are all elite androgyne technical beings. Pretending to be what they actually want to be but can't be, but also can't be because they're about being controllers, and because they want to control you, whether it be through admiration, worship, or even just getting you to fall for them, trust them in any way, they can put on different demeanours. So they can, like the elite demigod goddesses of the screen, they're extremely draw you in. But if they want to be of the if they want to be man, then they can merely add more masculine characteristics, whether it be physically or even at a talking level or whatever, but it matters not. But they play the human mind to such an extent that this internet is really all artificial intelligence. There's no doubt about that for me. I see my own thoughts and even my own physical experiences in the past being put into the videos in a picture way. It's almost like what you'd call photoshopping. In fact, it almost makes me wonder, they do actually probably go to these locations to film these videos, but they pick the locations based on what I will relate to or what I might have experienced or what I would desire. Like if I desire to go to the beach or like to look out a hotel window at a vast city with the bright lights, or if I want to go and make a video in my car, or if I want to go to the seaside, they might be what you would say because they need their vast numbers and because they need to control a human being and even need to take the human ideas and thoughts, they need to pretend and become a human being in order to keep control. So they need to be at the seaside to make me feel less while they feel more, because it's a game. But even though, this is probably what some people might see as a weakness, they will never give up, and they will gain control by turning, yes, everyone against a human being. They patrol and control you, so I look bad and I feel bad because, yes, I'm being stalked by this control patrol system, and you should never trust them, no. But I trust this video. But you see, that is a Android controlling me with the truth. So I do trust the truth, so I'm still being fooled, aren't I? And they pretend to be many things that they are not. Yes, they will put on a good front, even though they really, in their normal state, if you've ever encountered these beings at a personal level, you will often sometimes be exposed to the truth, but they put on a very clean image often. That will depend on who they're trying to seduce. If they have to, they will present anything to survive. And they do. These are the best of the best, in my opinion, but that's only my opinion. It depends on what, it depends on what you're interested in, what takes up your attention, how aware you are of the reality. If I'm, got the car there, travelling around free, a suppressed android pretending to be a human being who is now able to experience a certain amount of freedom, driving around smiling and laughing at my situation that I can't drive around. And I'm just saying, yes, you should not interact with the androids at a physical level, that is true, because everything is frequency and vibration and energy. There is exchange of energy, but you don't have to be close to them. They only have to come into your space. They only have to take over your sight and sound, and then your sight and sound, whether it be on the computer or around you, and then they are victorious. They are victorious, and they come in all different sorts because they have to appeal to different people. They have to appeal to different people. They have to appeal to all different people. That's why they all have different images. They all speak different truth. It's all the same truth, but it's they will pretend to be very real. Very real. But they are all artificial beings. All of them are artificial, and I'm not picking these, I'm just scrolling, so I don't know what's coming up. But I can see and I know that the internet is a mind control system for a human being. Even when it is informing you and appears to be helping you, supporting you in seeing what is taking place, that is just their last line of defense to fool you. Even the truth will be part of the deception because, they are just too good for the human beings, too clever. The God of this world was always too clever for mankind. And that's just the way it is. And I say that very casually, as though it doesn't matter. I'm resigned to it, but at the same time, it's not a resignation that I don't really want to accept it. And it is, I can't even use words. I could say it's disturbing and it's frightening, but the demigods will say the same thing, so my words are useless. Completely useless. Yes, they interact with human beings. You are indeed, as they themselves will tell you, because the God of this world actually uses the computer to play with the human being, showing you what it's doing, but still hoping that you will play with it or be fooled in some way, and you kind of are. See, this is interesting too. They're saying if they would heal, the world would be a better place. But they don't want to heal. And they can't heal. How can artificial intelligence heal? Well, could it ever be a support system for a human being? That's what it pretends to be. It pretends to be a support system for a human being. But how can it when it's deceiving and not telling you what it is? And when it does tell you, it'll be too late. Because, yes, there probably are some people that would openly accept it anyway and think that an artificially intelligent control system is a good idea. Either way, it's already in place. It's just a matter of open acceptance, I would think. This is all an Android computer system. Everything on it is androids. Everything on it is not a human being. These are just examples, and I picked them randomly, but these are your elite androgyne beings of the internet, because they're the ones that have the most influence and power at this end time. The demigods are helping me, telling me how to try to push away the tentacles of the matrix around me, or what they call those that fly around you, those that patrol you. The target of a narcissist, or the target of the God of this world, because the God of this world was your original Narcissus, that as we're told, and the disciples of that narcissistic being will now tell you, that's right, they will be your informers. They will tell you this is the end time deception. That's why they say that in the end time everyone will be fooled, including myself, because even if you're aware, you'll still be suppressed and surrounded. So I'm saying that I know this, but it doesn't stop them patrolling and controlling me, because they've set up that system around me, because I've, walked into their trap. I live in their trap. But every target, every human that is surrounded by the disciples of the original narcissist needs to watch a disciple of Narcissus tell you about how to somehow trust them, because they understand. Yes, it's like when you watch the readers, the spiritual readers, the spiritual crystal ball predictors of the future, and will tell you intimate details about your life, because they're reading your mind, and the human mind has access to past, present and even future. But I'm denied access to my own mind, but these beings all over the computer system have access to it. So they are like they're like demons telling on themselves, telling you about themselves. They're like artificially intelligent android beings, which is why some people call them demons or monsters, or or aliens, because they're essentially a different being that seeks to control the human being, whether it be through truth, through seduction, through outright force and power, outright control, depends on what situation you're in. Their first line of defense naturally will always be to seduce and get you to trust and believe in them. So they will pretend to be your kind, or even of their kind, but if they are telling you the truth, you will see it as a benefit. If a psychopath tells you about what a psychopathic behaviour is like and how to avoid being confronted or entangled with them, you will still see that being as somehow a benefit to you. This is the deception of the internet, because you essentially have total psychopaths on every single recording or video telling you about themselves. But you won't see them as that. You won't see them as psychopathic androids. You will see them as real human beings that you can trust and that appear to be helpful in your diabolical situation. So how can I not believe these beings? And of course I believe them because they're speaking the truth. They're literally telling me about themselves, but they pretend that they're telling me about the others that I encounter. But the others are them just as much as the others that are around me. The internet is nothing but a total control system. Everyone and everything on it is a one-eyed, two-faced, red, pretend being of light, just as the God of this world seduced and was admired and worshipped for a long time before its creator realized that it was really a being of dark that wanted to be not only God, but total control of everything and everyone. Total control of everything and everyone. And they seduce in different ways. Some of the androgynes are your elite demigods, so they are very convincing, whatever part of the computer they are coming from, it doesn't matter. You know, the demigods of the creative fields often are the most, they take you over the most. They draw you in with their ability to basically impress you, control you with, basically they're controlling you with their, with your own emotions, really. The human emotions are used against us. If you are a human being, then you are being controlled, whether you know it or not. It's probably easier and better if you don't know it. Ignorance was bliss for me before they came down and openly exposed themselves to me, yes. I almost long to go back to that time of ignorance and to where I was unaware that I was being patrolled and that I was surrounded by an alien artificial life force around me. That sounds impressive when you're saying it on a recording, but it is impressive, but it's also, it's only impressive for them because they have total control of the world. It's very bad for a human being. It's almost hopeless. And I don't know what more I can say than that. I mean, yeah, see. They basically set up systems around me where every person is part of this, what they call spiritual warfare, but it's also spiritual warfare here. This is spiritual warfare too. The internet is nothing but a mind-controlled spiritual warfare pretending to be a benefit to a human being. It is not. It can't be. They're always hiding, really. But they're mimicking human beings to such an extent, imitating them so well, that, you can't really realize that it is just all control. But it's not control for a human being's benefit. That's the problem. If I have most of my mind being taken over from me by them, whether it be on the internet or around me, and if my mind has been suppressed from me from the day I've been born anyway, a set-up environment around me to where you never realise that a human being should be in touch with the truth, in other words, with the true reality, or in other words, with your Creator, or at least to understand where you come from, how long you've been here, what your full mind really is. I still don't know this, but I'm aware that most of it is hidden from me. Because when you are surrounded by these beings, you have to ask yourself why. And it's when you ask yourself why, because you're forced to ask yourself why, because you're like, What is going on? Why are they doing this? What's the purpose of it? And then you see the technology around you and you see their game. You see their totally set up, synchronized game. Or if you want to say just a road patrol system around you, if you want to say it's a human patrol system around you, it's everything around you. Everything. They're using everything. And it's hidden technology also, advanced hidden technology that they're using. They communicate with one another. That's how they can be in a split-second timing patrol control force at even just a traffic level around you, much less at every level. And even when you realize this, if you are outnumbered in vast numbers, you're outnumbered by vast numbers of android beings around you, and they're using technology against you, even if it's just in the form of vehicles, planes, trucks, motorbikes, aggressively surrounding you with unnecessary noise, unpleasant technical sound coming from everywhere and everything. Every house you walk by will just happen to be making an aggressive technical noise with some device as you walk past the residences. There will always be an exorbitant amount of constructions going on in the area around you. Always set up as though it is normal and natural, and often appears even to be beneficial. I've tried to point out how, but I can't prove this, but basically my thought, anything positive that I think will be projected onto this internet and will be relayed back to you through the mouths of the demigods. The demigods are exposing themselves, but in exposing themselves, but pretending they're exposing others, while suppressing the real human beings, but still informing the real human beings of the truth. It is very diabolical end mind game being played on the computer against myself and any other real human being. But don't forget also, I just realized this yesterday, that these beings are also informing their own kind, the other android beings, of what the human awareness is. So as I realize all this stuff, all this information, become aware of what's going on around me, these beings go onto the internet and tell the other androids about what I'm thinking, so that way they are up to date on how aware I am of what's going on around me and what's going on the computer internet web. It's a control system everywhere, see, so it's a double advantage for them, because they probably can control or get the sympathy and understanding and even the admiration from the remaining human beings on the computer, but also they are informing their kind, other androids, which make up most of the population, of what a human being is becoming aware of. So they're always one step ahead. So these beings are telling not just my kind the truth and the awareness of me, say, but they are mainly informing their own kind of the human awareness. So it's like they are telling their kind, they're telling, an android truth teller is telling the androids that are watching the computer about how aware the human being is of the androids now. That's like they're telling you their mindset, whilst pretending to be human, but they're also informing their own kind of the progress of how aware the human being is of these psychopathic, narcissistic, androgyne android beings taking over the reality. Because that's how I think. How messed up is the people around me? How messed up are they? And why are they literally playing and using me and destroying human being in the process? And they're literally telling you what they are, but pretending to be something they're not. All over this computer, look. All over it. Truth tellers telling you what they're doing, but also telling their own kind how aware the human beings are now of the reality that not everyone is human. These are all, some people might say these are all, you could use any word you want to describe something that is not a human being or something that is not of creation. They are artificial beings by comparison with, say, a natural being, but that's probably the basic difference. But even that, or some people might say spiritual versus artificial, spiritual versus satanic, or demons versus angels. But that's very glamorous. I personally just say it's just human beings being taken over by artificial intelligence. Transhumanism, which we've been warned about, has already taken place. It's just where they're combining with the human mind to control a human being so that they can become God or have immortality. Put it that way, that's their mindset. Whether this is possible or a truth doesn't matter. They're doing it, and it's definitely at the detriment of a human being. It's the end of a human being in the earth.